Greetings, citations, guys. We're at the press launch for F1 2018. I'm joined by Lee from Codemasters.
Yeah.
So we've had a little bit of a go upstairs on it, but in your words first, what are the big changes to 2018 from 2017?
So for us, the biggest thing in 2018 is the inclusion of the press. So we always wanted to do that, but we only wanted to do it when we were confident that it was going to have real impact on the player's career. And Formula One in recent years, we've seen so much more access to the drivers. We've seen what they like on TV. We've seen their personalities, and we wanted the player's personality to really impact on what they do in the game as well. So that's why we wanted to include the fact that, you know, do you show sportsmanship or showmanship, and how you behave in front of the press. And as long as there were plenty of things for that to feed into, I thought that'd be a really cool thing to do. So that's probably the biggest thing in the game. It's not just about the on-track experience, it's about being the complete package as a driver.
Yeah, I know last year there was a lot on race simulation and team management. All that's still there, we just have the extra element of press and kind of celebrity management in a way.
Yeah, and also there's that degree of now you can have even more impact on your team, because what you say will motivate or demotivate departments. So it may be that, you know, I have an impact with another driver and I say something negative about them and I blame them, you know, that might put me down with their team, for example. So if I was looking at moving there, that has an impact on my, you know, my popularity with that team in the paddock. And again, it's sort of, I might want to motivate certain departments of my team. So if I handle things in a bad way, if I say something a bit incorrect after a race, I mean, obviously these interviews are time pressured. So it could be that you accidentally slip up and you're like, you hit this guy, whose fault was it? And you go, well, the car wasn't handling great, and straight away you've offended the chassis department. But that's what sprung to mind when you were in that pressured situation.
Yeah, it's one of these I've noticed complaining, like you get about 10 seconds to answer. So you've only just got enough time to kind of read all the answers and pick one like instinctively. But it's not just like, oh, I'm going to upset my fellow teammate. There's the mechanics to upset, there's your fans to upset, there's other teams. So is there any right answer, or will one answer always upset somebody?
No, so there's certainly we don't. It's not balanced in such a way that there's always right and wrong. So sometimes it might be that there is really no good answer if you've done something horrendous, but you've got to find the one that's least
like damage limitation.
Yeah. But what we like to say as well is there's no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong in being, you know, showing sportsmanship or showmanship. It's character. And that's what's exciting about it. You know, you see drivers who do show those different characters. Some will always answer very diplomatically. They'll always answer in a way that's very, maybe slightly corporate in some way. And then you get drivers who will just literally say what's on their mind, and they'll come out with that. And there's no wrong, you know, or right to wrong either way. And that's what we wanted in the game. So, but certain teams will want a driver of a certain character as well, and that's quite interesting. So if you're looking for a driver with a team that wants a driver of a certain character, then again you've got to consider how you respond to the questions.
And so if you kind of went along, say, hypothetically, came up with this big rock star F1 driver and just be full celebrity, could you get fired from your team for that? Or?
So you can't get fired for your answers to the press, but what you can do, again, everything works together. So if I'm constantly putting my team down, my reputation will go down. If my performance on track isn't great, my reputation will go down. And if the two of them get to their absolute worst situation, you can get fired from your team.
Right, and then moving away from the press side and team side, you put a lot, you say in the presentation, you put a lot into the suspension and the tyre temperature characters.
Yeah.
How in depth is that work? 'Cause that sounds like it's like months with a ruler on a tyre kind of level of detail.
So, I mean, everything we do, we derive from real data. I mean, the crazy one this year is the ERS system, for example. We put the ERS in, and all of the values, the electronic values, are all correct. The amount it can harvest from each of the systems is based on the rules, the amount it can deploy is based on the rules. And as you say, with the suspension, we got great feedback on the relationship between suspension loading and aero this year, which allowed us to make those changes. But the big changes you mentioned, the refresh rate on the suspension and chassis, is really to give that awesome sensation of a tyre on the tarmac. You know, the suspension's what actually keeps the car down, or keeps the tyre, you know, on the track surface. And that actually makes the game easier to play for players, because they can really relate to what that car's doing then. But also you can feel the changes in temperature, because the grip subtly changes. You can feel the marbles, you can feel the wetness when it starts to build up if it's raining. And you can certainly tell the difference between the different compound types, because now obviously there's multiple zones, and even more this year, it's 7 now we've got.
Yeah,
so it's a case of, you know, you really feel the difference with each compound type.
And so there's all this detail of like the race management and the compound types and all this lot and pit crew management. how easy, how approachable is it for someone with no knowledge of F1? Is this entry level accessible, or do you need to be a hardcore F1 fan to enjoy it?
So the game scales really well. So we scale it in multiple ways as well. So in terms of just car on track, there's lots of assists that make it actually easy to navigate the race. If you don't want to take on the intricacies of managing your ERS, there's an auto mode for that. The game will manage it for you. If you don't want to deal with the R&D side of it, there's a suggested button, so your team will suggest the next thing to do. And then when it comes to the racing, people don't always want to do 25, 50%, 100% race distances. So if you do a 5-lap race, you're not going to have to worry about tyre wear, you're not going to have to worry about tyre temperatures because you're not on track long enough to impact on those. So the game scales really well for all of those different levels of gameplay.
And we've got multiplayer as well, so how is that protected in any way to have you get a really serious F1 petrol head racing, and then you get an idiot like me driving a rally car who ruins your night. Is that protected anyway, or?
So this year, yeah, we had a lot of feedback of that from the community playing the game, and people do want to play in different ways. So as you say, you might want to go out there and be a chaotic driver out there, causing some havoc on the track. So what we've added is a super license, which will rate the driver based on safety and skill. And what that is basically, I might be an incredibly slow driver, a very clean driver, so I'll get match made against players of a similar calibre, so a similar sort of skill level, but also similar sort of driver etiquette on track. Or it may be that, I used to say I'm a bit chaotic, I spend a lot of time off the track, I spend a lot of time in the wall, and that will lower my safety rating, so I'll get match made again against players of a similar calibre. So hopefully people playing online in the ranked lobbies will always get the experience that they want, as opposed to somebody who comes in and disrupts what they're trying to get out of the game.
And I quite like that idea, because that's kind of, if you want to play at that kind of elite level, if you like, so you've got to get through all the idiots to get yourself to it. It's kind of another RPG progression in a way. It
is, yeah, and I think I'd like to hope that people will find it a precious thing. It'll be a badge of honour, it'll be a badge of honour to have that rank on your super licence.
You see the return of Hockenheim this year in the game. What was the thoughts in that? What thoughts on bringing Hockenheim back?
Well, obviously it was added back to the season this year, so we are the official game of the 2018 season. So we added Paul Ricard as a new circuit, and Hockenheim came back onto the calendar. And it's a real favourite of mine, Hockenheim. I think I love it in all racing games. And it's got fond memories for me because I went there as a kid at school.
Right.
We had you go have a school trip a week in Germany, and we went to Hockenheim, and I just remember they've got a scale extra layout of the Hockenheim circuit in the museum there, and it's like, that was just awesome.
So do you have that actually in the office? So when you're working, all the tracks, they're just so meticulously made and so realistically planned and stuff. Do you have working model scale electrics or something of the tracks in the office?
Wouldn't that be a dream?
Yeah, it's hard and we're just testing the corners. And
wouldn't that be awesome? I think our street day might be at risk of electric in the office.
It's the most realistic game of F1 today, yeah?
Yeah, I think realistic's a good way to say it, but I also think it's the most sort of complete representation of the sport. So I think realism is a big part of it. But like I said, Formula One is a really big, wide-reaching sport, and we represent it as the sport. The areas around the game, around the track experience, as well as the on-track experience.
So for someone who's spent so much time with this and all the data that's gone into it and stuff, I suppose the question is, who's going to win F1 this year then?
Do you know what? This year's it's going to be a tough one. It feels to me very similar to the season where Lewis and Nico, it could have gone either way, and it was issues that were causing the mix-up.
You're running out your time press answer.
So it has an impact on everyone. But no, I think the Lewis and Vettel, I think he's going to roll until the end of the season. I don't think we're going to get a clear picture because there's nothing between them, at all.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your time, Liam.
Awesome.
Thank you very much again. Cheers.
Thank you.